Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. If you are looking for a therapist, I am proud to be sponsored by BetterHelp, BetterHelp, H-E-L-P, aloha. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. John will put it down into the description. BetterHelp is a online counseling. They put you together with online counselors. So the reason I love the fact that they are sponsoring me is because they are helping the people who have been writing me from the UK. Oh my gosh, saying, hey, we can't get into a counselor. It's the months-long wait. This is ridiculous. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. If you are in the UK, Italy, France, anywhere outside the United States, you fill out some questions. They put you together with a counselor here in the US, and you can get into them pretty much immediately or within a day. So that's pretty darn cool. Also, if you're in a rural area of the United States, you don't like the counselor that is in your area, and you don't want to have to drive 100,000 million miles to get to a counselor, go on to BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Fill out the questions. They will place you with somebody in your state. If you don't like them, you just go back on and say, I don't like this counselor. You'll fill out some more questions and they'll place you with somebody else. So BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Okay, so much to talk about. Holy crap. So I love you guys. I am so grateful to have you guys as this community, because I just got 2 books in the mail from people who have been listening. This first one is Ancient Black Civilizations Matter by, I'm going to say the name wrong, I bet, Procopius Canning. This is somebody who's been listening and they got the courage to write the book, and I'm so proud of them. The other book that I am starting to read right now is by Nancy Mullen, and she is a member of this community as well, and it is Urban Tide Pool, and it's a memoir, and it's about growing up also with, disordered family, LGBTQ community, etc., the whole thing. So I've just started this book, so I'm gonna finish reading. I finished reading the other one. It was really cool. I love it that you guys are publishing your own books. This is awesome. Keep doing it. This is how we change the world, people. This is how we change the world. So yeah, books are awesome because they get out information, and, it's a great cathartic way to do it. So if you've been thinking, hey, my life story could possibly help somebody else, do it, write it, publish it. You can self-publish. You don't have to go through a publishing company. So yeah, anyway, that just made my heart just get all warm. So that was awesome. Thanks you guys for sending that in. And thank you for letting me know that I helped you do that. That was cool. I'm so proud of you. This is great. Okay. So, my books, good Lord, where did they go? Okay. These 2 guys are available either on Amazon, or you can get them on my website, chrisgodinez.com. I will autograph them. I will put one of my little sayings in them. I send them off myself with love. Also, my cup is available, and it's still in my hallway. $24.99. So they're available, and I package them, and I usually pop in a little gift too to say thank you for getting them out of my hallway. So these are available on chrisgodinez.com as well. Also, my girl, Susanna Quintana, she rocks the world. I love her. Her book is available on SusannaQuintana.com. I love her. I'm getting my shot today too. Oh, I'm so excited. So much has been happening. So I'm going to get my first Pfizer shot today. The second one's going to be in 3 weeks. 6 weeks after that is supposed to be when the immunity kind of kicks in and stuff. I'm going to start looking and see what states are open. And if I can travel, I'm gonna. Because, yeah. So I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know how it goes, and, any after effects and things like that. So, okay. And a book that you should probably get if you are dealing with the people that we are going to be talking about today, which would be, toxic people. Shahida Arabi's The Highly Sensitive Person's Guide to Dealing with Toxic People. I recommend this to all my clients. It is a great book. It has journaling suggestions in there. It's got exercise suggestions in there. I love her. She's just, if I ever get a chance to finally get back to New York, I want to drop in and just give her a big old high five, because I freaking love this woman. Anyway, great book. Okay, so there is all that. Okay, let us dive into what we're talking about. So inheritance, money, and aging toxic people. So recently I have had a bunch of people go, oh my God, this toxic aging parent is dying or has died. I don't know what to do, hasn't left a will, da 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 da. Okay, so a lot of this is like, some of it is legal, that you're going to have to find somebody who does probate or who does wills and trusts and things like that. The reason I want to do this is because I want to remind you guys, don't allow the toxic person to try to rule you from the grave, because they're going to try. So where do I want to start with this? There is so much. Nobody ever tells us what to do when somebody dies. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, it's like nobody ever sits us down and goes, okay, if the death is at home, you got to call the police and the coroner and this, that, and the other thing. There's going to be an investigation, blah, blah, blah. You know, nobody ever says, hey, if somebody dies without a will, it's got to go through probate. The state gets to decide who gets stuff. And usually it goes to like immediate family, like siblings, things like that. So it's like this big old question mark. This is something they should teach in school or talk about at home. But of course, our society's so weird about death. They're like, oh, we can't talk about death. So, but these are things that people need to know, because I didn't know any of this stuff until I got into counseling and realized, oh man, nobody knows what to do when somebody dies. Nobody knows what to do when somebody dies without a will. Nobody knows what to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right. So I will impart to you what I do know. So, all right. And especially with the whole COVID thing, because a lot of people have been dying alone at home. So yes, you're going to have to call the police, or the police will more than likely call you if you're no contact with them. Yes, the coroner is going to have to be involved. Yes, there's going to be an investigation. If the person had been there for a few weeks, you're probably going to have to call a specialized company that does the cleanup kind of thing. And those are expensive. So there's so much that we just are never taught about. I don't understand. I don't understand why we don't talk about this stuff. I mean, obviously you're not going to want to talk to little kids about this, but when somebody gets to be a teenager, younger adult, it's like, this is stuff they need to know. Okay. So let's back it up. Inheritance and money. So when we are dealing with toxic parents, romantic partner, whatever, money is used as a manipulation. Money to them is everything except what it really is. So to a toxic person, to an abuser, to a malignant narcissist or a malignant borderline, money is every single thing in the book except what it really is. So to them, money is power, control, love, all of these things. And in reality, what money is a means to an end. It can be used for those things, but that is not what money is in and of itself. And narcissists do one of two things. Abusers do one of two things with money. They either hoard it like nobody's business and it is their God, right? Or they act like it's something that needs to be gotten rid of as quickly as possible. Spend it, and never have enough. It's really weird. It's really weird to watch how they do this. And I think it depends on what their agenda is for which way they go with this. So the ones who hoard it, so much to talk about. The ones who hoard it tend to try to control from the grave. Now, I posted a article from, I think it's called Fascinate, on the We Need to Talk page on Facebook. It doesn't exactly jive with what I'm talking about here. Some of the stories were not even remotely, but a lot of them were about people who tried to control from beyond the grave and would set these ridiculous things up so that they were still controlling even though they were dead. So what abusers do is they teach us as the kids to have this really screwed up relationship with money. Money means every single thing that it doesn't. And they keep kind of enforcing that in us. They keep kind of going, this is what it means. This is what it means. And I'm going to dangle this over your head and you'd better jump to my tune, that kind of thing. So they use the money as a carrot, a stick and a carrot. And they write people into and out of their wills if they are of that sort. Now, see, that's what my dad did. Of course, he was a lawyer, so he didn't have to pay anybody. He could just do it on his own. So he would write people in and out, like on almost a weekly basis, depending on who had played the part of the golden child and who hadn't. And when he got mad at somebody, he would kick them out, and he'd make sure to tell them he kicked them out. And I'm just like, okay, nobody cares, old man. So, it was very much used as a do what I want, dance to my tune, play my sick little game, and I'll reward you for it. And for the longest time, my mom got really caught up in that, and she tried to get me caught up into that. And I was like, no, screw that noise. I'm not playing this game. I'm not dancing to his tune. No, I'm not going to play. I don't care. He can be Howard Hughes if he wants and writes 100,000 million different wills. I'm not interested. And once I made that decision to kind of be like, you know what, this is not my money. It's not. He could burn it for all I care. It's like poof. There was no power and control. He had nothing on me. It stopped because I wasn't responding. I went no contact, low contact. I didn't play the game. I didn't, I did not share what was going on in my life. I didn't, it was like, okay, whatever. And he would try to get me involved. Oh, well, I wrote your sister out of the will. Okay. Not going to relay that message, and that's what he would try to do. He would try to get us to relay messages to each other. So, and that is what abusers do. So the inheritance is used as the carrot and the stick to try to get the family members to continue the family roles, meaning the golden child, the middle ignored child, the scapegoat, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's just what they do. And when you stop playing that game and you realize you're never going to see the money, let me just clue you into something right here, right now. You're never going to see the money. Because they'll either spend it, right? Or they'll give it to somebody else or whatever. And that's their intent. They want to leave you just angry and feeling unloved and feeling whatever. And if you just don't care and it's like, great, do whatever you want with it, it's your money, then they have no power over you. And the truth of the matter is, and this is really hard to get because I know that enabling spouses do this to the kids, oh, you got to stick around for the money. Oh, it's yours. It's yours. It's your. No, it is not. It is not yours. It's theirs. They can spend it however the hell they want. Get that through your head. And if they choose to use it as a manipulation and control thing, that is when you go, thank you for playing. I choose not to do this. Kindly go pound sand. And you walk the hell out and you have nothing more to do with it. So, and that is the thing where we get really screwed up is because the enabling spouse and the abuser keeps telling the kids, oh, well, if you do that, it's yours. It's rightfully yours. It's right. Well, unless and until I have it in my hands, no, it's not. And no, I don't. So, you just got to walk away from that game. You got to recognize it for what it is. So in a healthy, normal family, things are, the parents have got wills because parents want to make sure their children are taken care of, especially when they're littler. They've got things laid out. They've got trust. They've got, whatever. The kids are all informed of it. And they let them know it's like, this is all divided up equally and there's not going to be any games. And if anybody tries to contest the will, I've got a codicil in here that says whoever contests the will gets a grand total of $1. And you shouldn't have to do that if it's a healthy, normal family. In my family, of course, that was done because it was neither healthy nor normal. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, so, all right. So money is used as power, control, manipulation, love. So when a narcissist wants to show the golden child, especially that they're loved, they usually give them things or they buy them things or they give them money or whatever. They don't really give them emotional love. They give them things because that's what they understand. They understand things. They don't understand emotions. So money and emotions becomes very intertwined in our little thinking. And we have got to get out of the idea that money equals love. It does not. It might equal love in the abuser's mind, but it is not in reality what love is. And perhaps I should do another show on what healthy love is as opposed to not healthy love. So, so we've got to stop associating money with an emotion. It's not. It is literally, the money is literally an object to be used. But remember, narcissists confuse people with objects and objects with people. And they will love their money, like to the point of miserliness, depending on what their modus operandi is. Now, the ones who do the hoarding, like I said, they tend to do the wills as a way to control from the grave. They tend to hold the money, the inheritance over everybody's head. The other ones use the money to, manipulate, control, or they use the money to stay poor. They can't keep enough money. And the reason they do that is so that the spouse is continually scrounging for every little bit of money that they can get, because they're trying to keep them from leaving them. They know. So listen to me now, believe me later. Abusers know when somebody is planning on leaving. They just know it. They feel it. And they will intentionally keep the family absolutely rock bottom broke, so that the spouse is working 3 or 4 jobs just to keep everything afloat. Money comes in, the other spouse starts spending it hand over money, has a fit if they are not allowed to, which I think is just so dastardly. So here's this one spouse that's trying desperately hard to scrounge up enough money to get out, get an attorney, get a place to live, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This person who is, abusive is making them account for every single cent that they, spend. Meanwhile, they're barely making enough money themselves, whereas this person is trying so hard to compensate. And then they sit there and berate that other person for buying something nice for themselves. Yeah, that's something that I see over and over again, is people that get out of these abusive relationships. They're just like, oh my God, I went to Ross or Goodwill or, and I bought myself this. This is the first thing I bought for myself, and nobody argued with me over it. And that to me is so sad, because if, you're working, you're doing your thing, you should be able to, buy your own stuff and not have anybody looming over your shoulder. Meanwhile, they're buying stuff that's totally not needed for the house. There's 4 little kids that need to be fed. They're buying motorcycles, they're buying trucks, they're buying jackets, they're buying, and they're not taking care of the kids because they don't care. They see the kids as a burden. So, okay. So toxic elderly family. Good Lord, this is such a big topic. I probably should have broken it down into 3. When they get older, okay, they get worse. They don't get better. They don't get better. The only time I have ever seen somebody toxic get better is when they knew they were dying and they were looking to get into heaven. And they did the whole, I need to get into heaven, therefore I need to be a good person, and blah, 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 blah. It's too late. A lifetime of being a rat bastard, and then suddenly they're trying to get into heaven. So they don't change. The toxic elderly do not change. They get worse, and they get worse when they realize that they have no power, when their looks are gone, when their money is gone, when their power is gone, all of that. They get worse. They get nastier, and they get more demanding, and they generally want to be taken care of. Okay, especially if they're covert narcissists. They love the whole, I'm going to make this family member take care of me. I'm going to force this family member to take care of me. I don't know if you guys ever remember this movie. I'm dating myself now. Like Water for Chocolate. Great movie. And it was all about this woman who lived in this really toxic family. And the family history was that the youngest could not get married and had to take care of the matriarch. And so, it was kind of that setup of the matriarch was a total narcissist. If you watch the movie, you're just sitting there cringing the whole time. You're totally rooting on for the heroine. And it's like she was expected to give up her entire life to sacrifice herself for this mother. And the mother would not even consider, giving an inch to allow this child to go have a romantic relationship, get married, have kids, whatever. So the older kids were allowed to do that, the golden children, etc., but the younger one was not. So, and it ends up tragically, of course, because it was an Academy Award nominated movie. They never nominate happy ones. Anyway, the point being is, this is what narcissists do, is they will pick on a child to be the caregiver. And oftentimes, the kid that's identified as the caregiver doesn't want anything to do with it. Like they've either left the family situation or they've removed themselves from it. And then the older narcissist, the older abuser, will start the guilt tripping and will start the poor me and start the you need to take care of me in my old age, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then they get sucked into it because they feel guilty. So listen to me now, believe me later. Fear, obligation, guilt, any of those showing up in any relationship is indicative of a toxic relationship. You do not owe them anything. Just because they are the sperm donor or the egg donor does not mean you owe them anything. If they need to be put into a care facility, get them into a care facility. But you are not obligated to take care of them. You're not. And there's going to be a bunch of flying monkeys that are going to come flying around going, oh, that's your parent in name only. Thanks for playing. Bye-bye. So if you get a bunch of flying monkeys that are doing that, you got to tell them to go pound sand. You just do. Because first of all, they don't live in the family. Second of all, it's none of their damn business. And third of all, you have the right to say no. It's not your obligation to care for this person who also did not care for you and who is a financial drain and who is abusive and is never going to change. Never. So what oftentimes I see them do is they will manipulate the person into taking them into their home, and then they start ruining the relationship that this person has with their spouse. That is what they do because God knows they can't stand peace and quiet. They have to have drama. So, hang on. So, you've got to really get with a good therapist, work on your self-esteem. You've got to have good boundaries. So, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More, both by Melanie Beattie, or The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. You've got to work on those boundaries. You've got to have a list of deal breakers. And if this person comes at you with the guilt trip, you simply say, no, you're not moving in with me. Here's a lovely care facility we found for you. And they're going to come unglued and they're going to have a fit and they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And you stick to your guns. And it's going to be difficult because there's going to be some family members, I'm sure, that are going to want you to be the caregiver. And the answer to that is a resounding no. They do not get better with age, guys. Trust me on this one. Now, when my mom got it up into her late 80s, she had to go into a care home because she could no longer care for herself. And it wasn't that we didn't want to take care of her. We couldn't take care of her. She had congestive heart failure. So she was in a care facility, and my sister and I visited her. I went every month because it was up in Northern California. My sister, who lived around the corner, went every day, and we visited her and talked to her on the phone and all of that. And every time we visited, we saw all of these collapsed narcissists that were dumped off into this care facility, and nobody ever visited them. Nobody ever wanted to be around them. Nobody ever wanted to talk to them because they were so nasty, and they did not have dementia. This was not a dementia issue. This was a personality issue. So there was this one woman that was down the hall that was just horrific. I mean, she would spit at the caregivers. She would snap her fingers at them like they were dogs. She would scream at them. She treated them really badly, really, really badly. I mean, nobody should be treated like that. And she treated them like that. And nobody liked her. And it's like, no wonder, because she was such a nasty piece of work. And she was a collapsed narcissist. She no longer had the looks, the power, the money. And that's what she kept, well, when I was younger, I was beautiful and I was this and I was that. And we're all kind of sitting here looking at her going, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, bitch. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so, so she would do that. She would just be nasty and expected to have people, dance to her tune and jump when she said, ask how high when she said jump. So, if you've got a family member that's doing that, you let them suffer the consequences of their own behavior, which means they get to be alone. They get to be alone. They get to deal with it. They get to figure it out. It's not your job. It's not your problem. Do not allow them to convince you to take them in and care for them in their old age, because they will be having you. And how do I know this? My grandmother, my mom's mom, moved in with us when I was a teenager. And she absolutely, that was a bad relationship between my mom and my dad to begin with. That woman stuck a fork in it. She did. I mean, she finished it. She absolutely ruined whatever hope of any sort of normalcy there could have been, which I don't think there was much hope in the first place. But yeah, and she literally expected everybody to wait on her hand and foot. Everybody. Like everybody, my mom, my dad, me, my sisters, it was crazy. And if we didn't give her enough attention, she would come unglued, have literally an apoplectic fit, have to go to the doctor. I mean, it was just insane. So if you've got kids and this elderly narcissist is wanting to move in, hell no. Hell no. With a side of hell no, extra helping of hell no. And what the heck are you thinking? No, don't do it. Trust me, it will not end well. And you're not ever going to be able to have a healthy, normal relationship with somebody who's unwilling to take responsibility for what they have done and what they are continuing to do. So what I also see abusive people do is that they will, that they will not leave wills because narcissists are terrified of dying. They're terrified of dying because they can't control it. They have no control over it. My dad was the biggest religious nut you would ever find. And you would think having a belief in God, whichever God you choose, would give you comfort. And you'd be like, okay, yeah, someday I'm going to return to the earth and it's all cool. And I'm going to go to heaven. It's all good. No, not him. He was terrified of dying. Terrified. And death was frightening to him. And I suspect that's why he was doing the will thing, because he wanted to control from the grave. What other narcissists will do is they refuse to write a will. Why? Well, if I talk about it, it's going to happen. I've heard that so many times. I have to not laugh because we are all going to turn into maggot food at some point. Hate to break it to you. So they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to leave a will. And so the other thing I've heard them say too, and I think this is just horrible, they get this sick little grin on their face and they go, well, that's their problem because I'll be gone. Like they know they're causing drama after they're dead and they enjoy it. So the best way to not be involved in this is to not play. Don't play. Just step out. It's not your money. Anyway, it never was. They made you think it was. They made you think you had a right to it. It's not your money. And unless and until it is in your hot little hands, it is not your money. Let that stuff go. Do not give them the fuel for their fire so that they can continue to make you dance to their tune. It's not worth it. There is no amount of money on the face of the planet that is worth having to put up with somebody who is verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, spiritually abusive, sexually abusive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Trust me on this one. Step away, go live your own life, be happy. And like I said, they don't tell you that when somebody dies without a will, it gets probated by the state and the state gets to figure out who gets the money. And it's usually brothers, sisters, immediate family that way, not so much kids, at least in the state of Arizona. So yeah, so they're playing with you. So if anybody is dangling a will over your head or is dangling this inheritance over your head, I strongly suggest that you go speak with a qualified probate attorney and ask the questions you need to ask. It's going to cost you a couple $100, but you know what? It would be better to get all of the information so that when the narcissist or other family members start giving misinformation, you're going to be able to go, I see the game. Okay, I'm not playing. Thanks. Bye-bye. And then you leave. So yeah, so that is the biggest suggestion I can give. So older toxic people don't change. They're not going to change, guys. They're not going to change. If they were going to change, I'm pretty sure that we all gave them the opportunity to go to therapy a long damn time ago, and they didn't take us up on it. Or they just refused, or they just, want nothing to do with it, think therapists are full of crap, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there you have it. It's like if somebody's not willing to work on themselves and is not willing to repair a relationship, be done. They're showing you who they are. Believe them the first time. And oftentimes, we as children of narcissists have got money issues, lack and scarcity, or, it feels dirty, or it means love, or it means, something else other than a means to an end. that's when we need to get with a therapist and work on, what is money really? What does it really mean? It's nothing. It has no emotional value except what we assign to it. And it's really important to start working on the self-esteem, because worthiness also has to do with the ability to earn an income. And oftentimes kids who have gotten that whole, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not da 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 da, find themselves stuck, unable to make a good living because they don't feel they're worthy of it, because the narcissist, the abuser, told them that they were not worthy of it. And you got to undo all of that. When I was a kid growing up, my dad kept telling me that I wasn't smart. He kept telling me that I was the cute one, not the smart one, because my other two sisters went to freaking Ivy League schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, it's interesting that, here I am owning my own business and have been for a decade more plus, and writing books, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, really? Isn't that interesting? Must have been really threatened by me. And that's the truth. So instead of looking at it like you're the bad guy, you're bad, you're wrong, you're not enough, you need to figure out why they felt the need to tell you that. Because a good parent doesn't do that. A good parent encourages their child, lifts them up, helps them, gives them the courage to keep moving forward. That's what encouragement is. They give them courage. So when somebody starts putting down a kid at a really young age, boy, howdy, that parent is threatened like nobody's business. So you need to take a look at that. So get with a good therapist, work on the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, work on The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, work on Codependent and Codependent No More, these two books by Melanie Beattie. Those are all really good books for this. So in conclusion, my little TED talk here, narcissists don't deal with death. Sometimes they don't leave wills because they enjoy the drama that it's going to create between the family members that are left. They don't care about the law. They don't understand the law, which is why it's important for you to go speak to a probate lawyer and find out what's what. It's not worth fighting over, and it's not your money anyway. It's theirs to do with as they damn well please. But you know what? You are the one that gets to choose whether or not you're going to play their game. And I suggest you don't, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your soul. It's not worth your peace of mind. And it sure as hell is not worth all of the drama that they are trying to stir up. And that is exactly what their purpose is in not leaving a will or writing people in and out of wills or, whatever. So, oi, there it is. Okay, let's dive into the questions, shall we? Hold on, where am I? Okay. I just recorded proof of my grandmother gaslighting. Should I collect more evidence before coming forward? Coming forward to who is the question. Who are you going to show this evidence to? What's your goal? What's your end game? What's your purpose? How is this going to make life better? Generally, when you find somebody who is a liar and gaslighting, etc., other family members already know and they don't care. Now, if they do care, that's a little different, but, it's like, who are you going to show it to and why? The other question I often get asked a lot is, can I prove that my narcissistic parent is incompetent? Only if they are, because remember, they're sly like foxes. So proving somebody is incompetent is really difficult to do. You need to have a full examination. They need to be, have a psych eval. They need to have a professional evaluate them. You can't just walk into a court and go, well, they're a narcissist. Well, they very well may be, but I'll tell you what, narcissists are not legally, keyword, incompetent. Socially, morally, spiritually, yes, they are incompetent, but legally they are not. So no, you cannot just go in and say they can't make this decision, blah, 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 unless you can prove that they've got beginnings, the Alzheimer's, dementia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you will need to speak with an attorney. So go find a good one in your area. Okay. Questions. Working on plans for me to have a funeral memorial for my borderline mother when she dies, and frankly, the whole damn family. I can set aside her money for this. Should I do it? Should I do this or save for it? Oh, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. Okay, wait. So working on plans for me to have a funeral or memorial for my borderline mother when she dies, and frankly, the whole damn family, I can set aside her money for this. Should I do this, comma, save for it? I can't tell you what to do, sweetie. It's up to you, you know? If you need the funeral, because remember, here's the deal, guys. When we pass this mortal coil, when we shuffle off this mortal coil, funerals are for the living. They are not for the dead. So it depends on what you need, you know? So let me give you an example. Oh my goodness. So when my dad died, I did not need to see the body. I did not. I knew he was dead. I didn't need to see the body. I would get no closure from seeing it. I don't like funerals. They're kind of creepy. You know, I mean, it's like, I do like visiting cemeteries. They're beautiful, especially if you go to the Oak Park one in Georgia. It is gorgeous. I mean, just gorgeous. And it's at Victorian Cemetery where they used to go have picnics and commune and, you know, all of that. So that's kind of cool. But I personally don't like funerals. My whole thing is when I shuffle off this mortal coil, I want to be cremated and I want to be spread in the warm ocean of the South Pacific. That's my whole thing. So, you know, but if family members need to have a funeral and they need to have that closure, then that's perfectly okay. My sister, on the other hand, she had to see his body. She absolutely had to. And she begged me to go with her. And I was like, I can't. I can't. There's no, I've seen that horror movie. No, thank you. You know, so I didn't want to go. And so my other sister went with her and she got her closure by seeing that. And it was so funny because it's like, we're at the funeral and I'm sitting here going, I hate funerals. I really, really hate funerals. Casket goes in the ground. She's taking tons of pictures. And she was like, oh, I'll send these to you. And I'm like, I don't want them. I don't care. I didn't like the man. I don't want pictures of his casket. What does she do? 2 weeks later in the mail, I get all of the pictures. I'm like, oh, gonna have an aneurysm. Anyway, so the point being is that it's funerals are for the living, is what I'm trying. This long drawn out story is funerals are for the living. So you do what you need in order to have closure. That's really what a funeral is about. It's about the closure. So, you know, if you need to, you know, have a wake and have a party and that would give you closure, then you do that. If you need to have a funeral, then do that. If you need to have just a memorial service, then do that. You do what you are comfortable with. It's kind of like, what is going to give the most healing? What is going to give the most comfort? And what do you need? So I hope that answered the question. I get so angry at how expensive funerals are. I really do. Like, and some of these funeral directors, not all of them, but some of them, hang on a second, really play off of the guilt and they play off of the fear and they play off of the obligation. And instead of going for a cheaper casket, they will steer you to the top of the line, you know, mural inside, everything lead lined, whatever, you know, $5 million casket. And I'm just sitting here going, your loved one doesn't know this, guys. And it's going to go into the ground where it's going to rot, you know? So it makes me angry when I see funeral directors play off of people's grief, essentially. And they did that in several cases in my family and John's family. So, yeah, and they're ridiculously expensive. I mean, ridiculously expensive. And I just find that reprehensible. It's, don't get me started. Anyway, so yeah, so do what you think is going to comfort you. That's the best advice I can give. Okay. I personally would not spend that much money on a funeral. I really wouldn't. So, you know, and it also depends on what your relationship is with them. I'm sorry, I keep going back to this question. It also depends on what your relationship is with them. If you guys had a good relationship, then, you know, do what they liked. Have the meals set out that they liked. Honor them that way. If you guys didn't have a good relationship, then you do what makes you comfortable. That's really what you need to do. So there it is. All right. Sorry. Okay. Moving on. I took almost a year to accept my mom was abusive. And now that I see all the abuse that I suffered, I can't stop the anger and the rumination. That is PTSD. So rumination, when we keep going backwards, when we keep, replaying everything that happened. Oh my gosh, this happened, and then that happened, and then this happened, and that happened. That is a normal part of the healing process. It is a normal part of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So that is kind of normal. How do I stop this feeling, or how do I stop feeling it? It gets me so irritated. So what you can do, there's a couple of things. You could always get with a therapist. That's always going to be my first suggestion. You know that. But if you cannot get to a therapist, if you cannot afford one good thing to do is write out an angry letter. Dear, who is it, Mom? Dear Mom, here's the good. If there was any, there may not have been. In some cases, there is no good, and that's okay. So, the good, if there is any, the bad, the ugly, the horrific, and at the very, very end, you let them have it with both barrels. You did this to me, you did this to me, you did this to me, how dare you, go pound sand, or whatever else you need to say. I can no longer swear because, that's kind of in my contract now. So you know what I'm saying, all of the words that I would normally use, so yeah, you just say that, you just get it all out and you let them have it. How dare you? How dare you do this to me? How dare you hit me? How dare you put me down? How dare you, all of that. You just keep going with, how dare you, and get it out. And then at the very, very end, you tell them in no uncertain terms, you are not allowed rent-free in my head one more blessed moment. Get out. You are being evicted. You are being exorcised. If I need to get holy water in here, bitch, I will, So, and you just tell them, you're not allowed. You're not allowed in my head. Screw you. You're not allowed in my head. How dare you? How dare you live in my head? How dare you? Get out. You're not welcome. And then goodbye. And then you trot it out to the barbecue. You read it out loud once to the universe, Boofa Baba, Buddha, God, whatever. Let it go. Burn it. Burn it. See how you feel. It might make you feel a lot better. Or things that keep coming up after you've written the letter, those are the ones that you probably need to take to a counselor. Because what the letter writing does is it helps our amygdala kind of process stuff, right? Make it feel like we've done something about it. But if there is still stuff that keeps coming up over and over, the same stuff, not different stuff, but same stuff, that is the stuff you need to take to a counselor and go, okay, counselor, I wrote the angry letter, I burnt it, I let it go. These 3 episodes or these 3 things keep popping up. What is this? How do I fix this? What do I need to do? What am I missing here? What do I need to work on to make this go bye-bye? So there's that. Yeah, and this is a normal part. So it is irritating. It is. And we have a lot to be angry about. So don't discount anger. Anger is your friend. Anger is the bodyguard of the softer emotions. So when we get abused and we realize it, it's hurtful. They hurt us spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, religiously, however they did it. So the anger is kind of the bodyguard of the sad and the hurt. And anger is always driven by sad and hurt. It's because it's just showing us where we've been hurt and where we need to heal. So make friends with your anger, and there's appropriate ways to express the anger. There's inappropriate ways to express the anger. Anger in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's what we do with it that is. So, if we choose to lash out at other people, what you want to do is you want to put the abuse, the anger about the abuse, back onto the abuser. CPTSD, From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. I think it's chapter 3. He talks about putting the anger, the shame, the blame, the guilt back onto the abuser. Put it back onto that person. You don't need that luggage. It's not yours. Leave it on the baggage carousel. Hand it back to the abuser. It's not yours. So anger just lets us know where we've been hurt. So write the letter, see how you feel. If the same issues keep coming up, get with a counselor, work the CPTSD book, do that. You might also want to work the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine, with a C, Catherine Taylor. So that's also a good one. Okay, where are we? Okay. Is it appropriate to apply the stages of change model, toward trauma, complex PTSD, and impaired functioning due to medical and trauma, and only focusing on the present and never the past? I'm not sure I completely understand that question. I'm going to try to answer it. Okay. Our past impacts our present. There are reasons why we think the way we do, why we behave the way we do, why we say the things we do, why, that are automatic that have to do with our past. So when people want us to not deal with our past or not work on things that happened in the past, that to me is toxic positivity because the past has an impact on the present. Hold on. It is so dry right now. I can't even begin to tell you. Holy cow. That's the bad thing about living in a desert. Okay. So when we've had complex post-traumatic stress disorder and impaired functioning due to medical and trauma, you absolutely need to deal with that. You do. It's impacted you. It impacts what you're thinking here and now. And if you have to have procedures or, go in to see a dentist or go in to see a doctor or whatever, it's going to impact your anxiety level. So you want to deal with whatever is causing the anxiety, the trauma, the whatever that happened in the past, so that in the present, you are able to stay present and be able to tell your amygdala, because remember, the amygdala cannot tell the difference between past, present, future. If it recognizes a threat, it's going to light up like a Christmas tree, tell the hippocampus and the hypothalamus to release cortisol. Cortisol floods the body. We tense up. Why? Because we're getting ready to fight, flight, freeze like a bunny rabbit so the predator passes on by, doesn't see us, or fawn, give into the predator so that we don't get killed. So if there's trauma in the past, it needs to be worked on so that this little guy can calm the bleep down. So that in your present, if you're having to do medical stuff, you're able to soothe yourself, soothe the amygdala, soothe your inner child, soothe whatever's going on, so that you can go ahead and have that medical procedure and not be, on the ceiling like Sylvester the cat. So yeah, I think, no, you need to focus on the past as well as the present in order to heal. So that's just my opinion. There's other counselors out there that are like, no, 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 no. But I disagree with them because there's a reason why our amygdala lights up like a Christmas tree. It's because it's recognizing a threat generally from the past. And that past needs to be worked through so that this little guy does not throw us off track. So that's what I think. Okay. When my father died, no one told me in my family, oh, I'm so sorry. I learned from my JD. I don't know what JD stands for. How do I inform my narc? Wait, I'm so confused. I'm sorry. I don't understand your question. Okay, when my father died, no one told me. Okay, no one told me in family, learned from my JD. I don't know what JD is. How do I inform my narc? Ask the facility to call her. I just don't want to. Angry, disgusted still. I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm really sorry. I don't quite understand the way. Oh, lawyer. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes so much sense. Okay, hold on. Okay, all right. So when my father died, no one told me in family. I learned it from the lawyer. How do I inform my narc? Ask the facility to call her. I just don't want to. Angry, disgusted still. You could have the lawyer call her, because it's really, if you are no contact with narcissist sister. Okay, that makes so much more sense. I am so sorry. Hang on. Things are getting pasted in as I'm reading. I'm like, Okay, when my father died, no one told me in my family. I learned from my lawyer. How do I inform my narc sister? Ask the facility to call her. ? I just don't want to. Angry, disgusted still. If you are no contact with her, I would ask the lawyer too. I would just say, look, I am no contact with her. You need to call her. That's what I would do. Because honestly, it's really, yeah, if you're no contact with the sister, I would just have the lawyer do it. Yeah, honestly, I really would. Or just, ask the facility to call her. It's like I'm not on speaking terms with her and I don't want to have contact with her. And yeah. Oh, thank you, Donna. Um, she just put a little thing up. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm glad I could help. But so okay, so yeah, if a family member dies and there's a narcissist sibling, and you're no contact with them, stay no contact. Stay no contact. I mean, there's really no reason to have contact with this person. Have the lawyer do it. It's not your job to inform everybody. Yeah, you could call the facility. I would strongly suggest that you get with a good therapist, though, because angry, disgusted, still. Yeah, and if there is a will, you guys are probably going to be having to talk to each other, or you're going to be having to go through an attorney, which is going to get expensive. God, I really hate situations like that. It's so frustrating. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I would two things. One, have the attorney call her or have the facility call her. Two, if there is a will and you guys are both involved in it, I can guarantee you're going to have contact with this person at some point. I would strongly suggest speaking to an attorney and also getting a counselor to help you deal with the anger. Write and burn letters, absolutely. Have all of the communication, especially if this person is really abusive, have all communication go through the attorney. And yes, it does get expensive, but it's worth it because then you're not dealing with the cray-cray. You know what I'm saying? The other thing you could do is you could call or get onto Susanna Quintana's site because she does that for people. She does the whole, let me deal with the crazy emails. I'll tell you what to respond to, that kind of thing. That's why I love Susanna. She's just freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this. Yeah, I would either have the facility call her or I would have the lawyer call her. If you're no contact with her, stay no contact. If you have to have contact with her because of a will, go through the attorney. Let them deal with it. Or like I said, you could give SusannaQuintana.com a little shout out and say, hey, I need help. Do you do this? How much do you charge? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you could absolutely do that. Okay. Wow. I'm so sorry. My condolences, but stay no contact. I think that would be the best way to do it. And work through the anger. Work through the anger because you want to get to the point that even if you're in the same room with the abusive sister and she's poking the bear, you are Zen master. Like nothing she says can roll you, and that's where you want to get. So again, when my mom passed, there was a lot of contention with one of the siblings. And I just had to be like Zen master, not playing the game, calling it out, protecting the other siblings. And, it's like, no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not going to, we're going to go through the attorney now. It's like, it's calm. And things were said that were terrible. And you just got to get to the point where it's like, this is about them. This is not about me. This is about them, and you just got to get that way. So that's why I think getting with a good attorney and a good therapist is really gonna help you because you need to work on those barbs that narcissist sibling is able to put into you and hook you like a fish. You don't want to be hooked. They should be able to throw whatever hooks they have at you and they just go right on past. And you're able to go, yep, nope, not playing. So yeah, that's what I think. Okay. Hi, Chris. Love you so much. Oh, thank you. My mom died on Thursday. Oh, hon, I'm sorry. They are having a funeral on Tuesday. I'm torn as to whether to go or not. Toxic siblings guilting me. Ugh. I am no contact. I am the scapegoat. Oh, good Lord. Well, honey, you do what you want to do. You do you is basically what it is. So if you do not have somebody that can be a support for you, that can basically tell these toxic siblings to go pound sand and now is not appropriate, then don't go. If you feel like you want to go, you need to go, then go. But if you're like, I don't want to go, blah, 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 use COVID as the excuse. This is a beautiful thing about COVID. You can use it for the excuse to avoid family. So of course, that's eventually, hopefully, going to go away. But yeah, if you don't want to go, don't go. If you feel the need to go, like you need to go to the funeral for you, then you go. But if you're going to go, I would strongly suggest taking somebody with you that can be an emotional support that will stand up to these bozos so that you're not getting picked on in the middle of a funeral. But if you feel like you're going to get picked on in the middle of the funeral, then don't go. Your safety, your comfort has to come first. And honestly, what I do oftentimes, like with my dad, I just, my sister, just one of my sisters totally idolized him, totally, oh, he was, Saint Bob of the perpetually perfect parents. And I'm just like, oh, what are you smoking and why aren't you sharing? I mean, it's like, so I don't ever go visit the grave with her because I just want to puke when I do. So if I ever want to go visit the grave, because my grandmother is also there and I liked my grandmother, I'll just go by myself. I'll just make a time and go sneak away from family and go visit the grave by myself. So, or I'll take John with me. John went with me once. So, because we don't go that often. So, yeah, you do what you need to do. You do what makes you comfortable. Don't feel pressured into going. So if they're guilting you into going, don't go. If you don't want to go, don't go. Don't go. You are under no obligation. Remember, fear, obligation, guilt, fog. That is what abusers use to manipulate and control. So don't fall for it. Don't. So you go if you want to go, but if you really don't want to go, then don't go. And you can use the COVID as an excuse. I'm sorry, I haven't gotten the vaccine yet. I'm sorry, it's, too many people. I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you need to say. You do you. You make sure you are safe. And if you do choose to go, take somebody with you that can be that protector, bodyguard, basically. Hey, that's inappropriate. We're not talking about that right now. But then again, they may use that as an excuse to start drama. Well, you're not part of the family. What do you know? Blah, blah, blah. So if you don't feel like comfortable going, don't go. That would be my suggestion. Okay, kids, I'm going to end it early. Next week, I think what we are going to talk about is why is it dangerous to go to counseling with an abuser? And also why abusers don't go get help. So how am I going to name this so everybody knows what I'm talking about? I think I'm just going to name it why they don't get help. So let's talk about that, because there was a question from last week that they were like, but why don't they change? Why don't they change? Why don't they change? Why is it dangerous to go? So I want to talk about that. So it's going to be why don't they get help? And in that discussion, I want to talk about why it's dangerous to go. That means family counseling as well as couples counseling. You do not want to go to family counseling. You do not want to go to couples counseling with an abuser. And I'm going to go into why. So that is what we are going to talk about next week. I am off to go get my first Pfizer shot. Wish me luck. I will talk to you guys next week, and we're going to talk about why they do not go get help. All right, my loves. Have a great week. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Talk to you later. Bye.